What's up, folks? This is Detroit Miracle, and I am here to talk about karate and kung fu as it involves cinema and film. First and foremost, I'm going to say martial artists such as Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris are my two all time favorites. And then, of course, there were more favorites that came along such as Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal, and Michael J. White. Oh, and I gotta include Wesley Snipes because I think he's also a very good, credible martial artist. Okay, people, I'm gonna try to get to my point of discussion. When you see martial arts played out in film, it usually involves things that are staged, and each particular movement of attack and defense is worked out in advance. So both parties are well aware of the strikes that are coming their way. Both parties or many parties involved in a fight scene are well aware of what's going to happen before it even happens, and they call it choreography. And now in the modern era of cinema, we have advanced CGIs and visual effects, which makes the fight scenes look even more phenomenal. Look, somebody like Bruce Lee had to be incredibly phenomenal back in his day to perform such martial art feats on film without using special effects or CGI. Yeah, because nowadays you'll see dudes flipping high, flying around. Well, you've seen people flying in the 70s and in the 80s, and they never explain that. Like, what kind of martial arts give you the ability to fly around and float high? What kind of style was that? Hey, if them dudes could jump that high, then they should have NBA contracts because you know they could dunk a ball. Yeah, so what I'm trying to get at is the stuff on film involving martial arts, which is staged, is not like real life fight scenes and scenarios that involve conflicts. Because in real life situations, you do not know how your opponent will strike or react to your strike. Yeah. And in some ways, that makes matters more unclear and difficult. But with the wide variety of skills that you are amassing, you should know almost instantaneously how your opponent is going to come at you. It's sort of like chess. You're trying to determine which moves your opponent is going to make or how they are going to respond to your moves in an aggressive fashion. Yeah, like real life situations might involve somebody that's not going to just stand with you toe to toe and trade punches and kicks. Yeah, when you find a real life thing, they might just outwardly lunge towards you and try to grab you in a bear hug and pick you up. And people, we've seen so many fight scenes on camera where there are multiple assailants against one person. Like it's a guy right here, a guy right there, and two guys in back of him, like surrounding the dude, or female martial artists. But nevertheless, that female artist is able to get the better of those opponents by taking one out at a time. Yeah, and that's not the case in real life scenarios because if you have four people against one guy or gal, they're going to usually run and attack at the same time. Like one might go for the legs, wrap his arms around it. One might go for the bear hug in the front, and there might even be a couple of more guys on the side. You know, when you seen Bruce Lee on film, he was changing his movements around. He was surrounded at times, but he was doing different things and throwing the sound effects out there to confuse his assailants, because somebody like Bruce was well aware of that fact. But you want to look good on film, and especially if you're the star of that feature. So he tried to show you that, hey, he's well aware that he is surrounded by many, many foes, but he's gonna nevertheless come out on top because he's throwing sound effects. Woo! He's doing different movements. He's not just only stationary, waiting for their attacks, and he's balanced well, where that he can respond to something quickly and not trip over. Yeah, people. I think that's the differences between martial arts on film and martial arts in real life. In real life situations where it involves sports, then there are rules set up. We know both parties are going to be punching and kicking each other, and it's not staged or choreographed, but nevertheless, it's rules and conditions set up so that you can only do certain things and not do other things. Now, in real life street fights that involve martial arts, it's probably more like the UFC stuff. That's probably the most accurate way to convey martial arts being displayed in real life street scenarios, where you're going to kick, punch, and then if you get the person on the ground, you're going to use submission holds. Like, it involves a combination of martial arts, kickboxing, and wrestling at the same time. That's more like of real life scenarios, because even if you like an 8th degree black belt, you're still gonna use whatever you can. You might bite the person, you might claw the person. You definitely gonna use wrestling stuff on the floor, because he might get you down, and that opponent might be bigger and stronger. He might have you somewhere pinned where you cannot get on your feet and do those fancy martial art kicks and punches. Yeah, real life is different from cinema. Yeah, that's why I favor the UFC styles of accurately conveying street situations involving martial arts, because that's true. 1 minute you might be kicking and punching and upstanding on your feet, and then you're gonna get down on the ground at some point, and you gotta have to get out of a situation that could be dangerous and prohibiting. Yeah, and I noticed when street fights showed on film, it doesn't work out like that. It's like it's rarely that the guys wind up on the floor in a type of struggle situation. It's like usually where they're restricted to rules which state that they can only kick and punch, and do that. They never accurately displayed what will really go down in a real life type of scenario, which is incredibly dangerous. Yeah. But I know if they did that on film, it wouldn't look as showy and impressive, as if you were just like bound by the rules of saying, hey, I'm the better kicker, I'm the better puncher, so I'm only going to kick and punch, use many types of impressive kicks. It's like watching Walker, Texas Ranger. Like I said, Chuck Norris is one of my all-time favorite, but in that show, he threw more than 1,000 kicks and punches. Like, all his opponents, like it was like they were kicking him and punching him. He was kicking, throwing fancy kicks. Now, come on. If I was fighting Chuck Norris on film in one of his episodes, when he threw one of them kicks, my whole thing would have been to knock the kicks out the air, to punch the kicks, or to grab his leg and like flip him. Like, if somebody is kicking, I'm gonna lunge, I'm gonna grab the leg and be like, hey, show them fancy kicks, nah, brother. Yeah. And I'm not taking away from the greatness of Chuck Norris or any of the other people that accurately, as best as they possibly can, display their talents on film or otherwise. I was just saying, as an example of what will happen in a real life street type of situation compared to what goes on in film and even in sports martial arts. Yeah, people. Well, let me know what you're thinking about this. I'd appreciate it if you all would drop those likes, comments, and up those subscriptions to me, Detroit Miracle, and peace out.